Are you worried about refeeding syndrome? So you understand about fasting. If you read medical literature, there are some studies that have been done for long-term fasting, intermittent fasting, extended fasting, these types of things. And there's a lot of stuff, and it's usually related either to the Holocaust or to anorexia. So the Holocaust, what happened is they had lots of people that were sitting in camps who had been chronically starved for a long period of time. And then what happened is you see people that are living skeletons. The first thing you think is give them food. They need it. But the problem was that if they gave them food, some of the people that they gave it to actually died, and they suffered from what was called refeeding syndrome. People with anorexia, this is also a worry as well, because they starve themselves for a very long period of time. And then when you try to give them food suddenly, they die. So there's a refeeding regimen that you have to put into place if people have fasted or starved in a way without proper supplementation. So generally speaking, if you want to avoid refeeding syndrome, what you do is you take fasting salts. They're not very expensive. Unflavored ones sell for like $20, and it's sodium, magnesium, potassium. And if you take those every day and you're under a month, it's usually not an issue, especially given if you have a lot of fat and these types of things. It's okay. But when you break it, you have to be a little careful. And so there's a stage of meals that you do to kind of break that fast. So I take bone broth. It's about 40 calories. It's got about 20 grams of protein. You put the fasting salts in it. You mix it up. You do it once a day. It helps a little bit with muscle atrophy because you eat protein as well. And the only source is your muscles or dead cells. So autophagy does get some of it, but you will lose muscle during an extended fast. Although your primary source of fuel is fat. You have 3,500 calories in every pound of fat. So you lose a pound, it's about a day and a half of operating, depending upon your metabolic rate and your level of physical activity. If you keep active, you work out a bit, not vigorously, but a bit, it does also help with the muscle loss as well. If you just stay completely inactive and shut down, then you atrophy very quickly. So it is a concern for anything over a week, and it's why it's not recommended for beginning fasting people to go on extended fasts. And another thing that you have to understand is that a lot of literature that was done in the 60s and 70s about fasts, they didn't actually fast. What they did is they put people on a restricted calorie diet. And that restricted calorie diet actually had things in it that would spike insulin. If you have high insulin levels, actually what happens is your body has a difficult time processing its fat reserves. So it starts thinking there's no fat there. And what it does is it says, well, my only other option is to lower your metabolic rate. In other words, you feel cold, tired, irritable, and really out of it. So if you're fasting properly, psychologically, it starts messing with you. You think about food all the time, and you can stave it off, but your energy levels are quite high and your metabolic rate doesn't go down. I have not eaten food for 5 days. I'm living on about 40 calories a day. And that's only because I don't want to take all the muscle loss. And I could do just straight up water if I wanted to. But I'm doing a little bit of bone broth for that, not mostly for hunger, but it does help a little bit. And I feel fine. I'm answering questions. I'm 23 minutes into this AMA. I'm fired up, ready to go. I exercised this morning, meditated this morning. I'm feeling good. Okay. And if you took labs, it actually looked better than the labs going into this. Okay. Now, if I went on a juice fast and lived off of 1,200 calories a day and I was spiking my insulin constantly, I would be the most miserable son of a bitch in the world. I'd feel terrible. And I would be like, I feel so cold and tired, and my mental state would be terrible because I wouldn't even be on a ketone metabolism. I'd still be on a pseudo-glucose with a low metabolic rate. So what goes in is what comes out. And there's a lot of careful chemistry in this. And there's a lot of people think about these things, study these things. Now, you don't use extended fast for weight loss. It's not a good idea. Intermittent fasting is a lot better for that, especially if you compare it with some diet changes and lifestyle changes. And there's actually a special fast you can go on where you can lose huge sums of weight very quickly. It's called a protein sparing modified fast. It was invented by Cleveland Clinic in the 1970s for diabetics who were bariatric patients. And you can do that. And there's companies like Ideal Protein and others that they've even turned it into like an idiot-proof turnkey solution for people. And I know one person that went on it, lost 110 pounds in 5 months, watched them through the whole process. But if you want to go on an extended fast, either you're doing it for a religious reason or you're doing it for a cleansing reason. The autophagy state eats a lot of old cells, senescent cells, which are super bad for cancer, for aging, and a lot of metabolic problems. Cleans up your gut. Your whole GI tract rebuilds itself. It helps reset your microbiome. It does a lot for you. And it really does purge a lot of nastiness inside the body that you tend to accumulate. So you can do that, and you're going to lose some fat, probably at the end of all of this, maybe 4 to 5 pounds, give or take. That's good. But then I have to regain the muscle, and I have to refeed properly. But I did it for a cleanse in that respect. I will go on a protein sparing modified fast at some point, because I do have about 50 pounds of fat that I've accumulated throughout the years to lose. And it's so easy as a CEO. You get maybe 4 or 5 pounds a year. It's so subtle. That's not a lot. It's a ½ pound a month. Who sees that? But you do it for 8 years, 10 years. It's here. And it just lasts. Anyway, consult your doctor and nutritionist.